international investor, we still think that you've got a lot of risk. We're talking about parity potentially against the euro. And if you look back to previous crisis episodes, the Brexit vote itself, the GFC, and then back to 1993 with the ERM exit, on each occasion, the Bank of England, if they've needed to respond to a crisis situation, has been prepared to let the currency go. And, typically it falls about 25% relative to its 3-year peak. We're still close to those 3-year peaks. Year to date, sterling dollar's up. Or year on year it's up. This is an environment that we see the greatest risk for international investors coming very much from that currency side. But yeah, you'll get some leverage from the commodity plays there.
Ian, I want to pick it up because you mentioned the BOE. Do you think in a no-deal Brexit scenario they do indeed have to go negative?
I think that they will probably try to resist that. I think we've seen, and certainly I believe they should resist that. We've seen from other parts of the world that the banking sectors where yields have been taken negative have struggled to have a credit cycle to see the economy recover. I think you need to see more of that, and I think that's one of the things that's been holding back the Eurozone banks, certainly held back the Japanese banks, and I think that you'd be very wary about that taking place. So I would hope that the bank will signal that they will keep rates close to zero and instead use other measures if they need to, but effectively encouraging benign neglect around the currency to do much of the adjustment process here, rather than just relying on negative short-term interest rates, where I think the evidence that they really boost economic activity is very limited indeed.
Ian, if there was to be a hard Brexit, it would likely be that the EU would suffer as well. We have today seen the EMA, the European Medical Agency, clearing the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, but it is still a few weeks behind both the UK and the United States. How convinced are you that the European recovery is going to deliver? We have very high debt levels. We continue to see policy moving relatively slowly. It is going to pick up next year. But if you were going to reallocate money right now, how much of it would be towards Europe?
I still think that Eurozone has actually, if you're looking to move away from the US, if you believe, we are moving towards a better environment by the end of next year, as we do, then, we actually think there's more value and more attraction in the Eurozone than emerging markets now. Actually, the valuation relatives are more attractive for the Eurozone than they are for emerging markets, particularly on a debt-adjusted basis, Guy. Enterprise values are, relative to trend, are better in the Eurozone. I think you and I have talked about this over many, many years. When did you think that you would ever see Germany announce a 10% budget deficit, or budget expansion? We are seeing dramatic changes in the Eurozone. The sharing of debt and the changed attitude, the willingness to proceed with the banking union as well, cross-border mergers across the banks. Lots of changing.
Some people still see that as a one-off. We'll wait and see whether or not that turns out to be the case. We'll see if it's executed effectively, the new Next Generation Fund, and the sharing of debt. Maybe it'll continue, but there's no evidence thus far that that's going to be the case. So we'll wait and see on that one, Ian. Always great to have you along. Thank you very much indeed for your wisdom today. Have a great holiday. Ian Harness, Absolute Strategy Research Chief Strategist. Some headlines coming through from the National Institute of Health talking about the fact that they are going to be monitoring some of the allergic reactions that have been to the vaccine. We'll talk more about that. This is Bloomberg.
That wraps it up for Guy and I on Bloomberg Markets. We're awaiting remarks from UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. This is Bloomberg.
from New York to our Bloomberg television and radio audiences worldwide. I'm David Weston, and this is Balance of Power, where the world of politics meets the world of business. We're going to start, as we usually do, by checking in on the markets with Abigail Doolittle. And Abigail, looking at your note, there's not much ambiguity today. It's a risk-off kind of day.
It is certainly a risk-off kind of day. We're looking at the worst decline for the S&P 500. Actually, we're off the lows, but at the lows, we are looking at the worst day since the end